'Cause I mean, you open the can of worms.
You open the floodgates.
You said
Now
that,
we're
yeah,
talking. Then what
yeah,
if we start talking about something I don't want to talk about?
yeah, exactly. Like we're talking about getting health insurance, and
That's that's a big
right,
conversation.
and like we have like not getting health, but like changing.
Your plan or
Where
something?
yeah, I mean I have ADHD. I don't know what she was talking about.
You're like, I was just sitting there. I
Right.
was trying to eat my chicken nuggets.
Exactly. So yeah, yeah,
So she's had to put up with a lot. But aren't you worried at
she's
some level?
amazing. What?
Right, your 7 years
Yeah.
got you to where you are today, right? And
100.
all that was with ADHD. Was there
Yeah.
any fear of, hey man, am I not going to be as efficient? Am I not going to be able to do what I've done to get here? Because look at where you are.
Yeah.
And all that had ADHD along with it.
Right. Partly was because I've had amazing people helping me out. I don't think anybody else has had to like. We all find our roles, like,
Just in
and
life.
so just in life and relationship. So Sarah, uh, she does the financial side because finances and my brain don't get along. Math, I can't. You could ask me times tables and I could not tell you. Fifth grade, sixth grade, like my mom was beside herself trying to get me to memorize my times tables. I couldn't. Like I worked so hard to get those, couldn't get them. So like numbers is tough. Like I just have these things that are impossibilities for me, um, and like I could take an open book math test and probably still only get a C. Like that's how bad I am. So
Open
with
book math test.
seriously, dude, like the yeah, testing is
Hard.
nuts. But anyways, uh, with Sarah and the 7 years of marriage and being um, like I have my strengths and like I've built my strengths and like um, yeah, the people around me and like Sarah's just been incredibly patient and loving and had to deal with so much like just crap because yeah, but she would say this if she were in this chair she would say the same about me though. I've had to deal with all of her crap. It looks different, but it's that I was talking to someone today about that choice. um, the hardest part in marriage is making that choice to trust and to love. And I've made that choice to trust and to love Sarah. Um, and that a lot of that trust is trusting her to love me back. And so that's the most terrifying part to trust someone to love you back and deal with your crap. So that is something that we've learned over our 7 years is we trust and love each other no matter what, and we've been able to withstand like deaths in the family, divorces happen over finances, like, and I've been so like I told you about the impulse thing, I've just really like super um, impulse like made some stupid just nothing like big. I didn't go buy a boat or anything like some
You're not
people
rolling
do.
around in a new Ferrari or
No,
anything.
no,
Yeah.
not at all. But I definitely, uh, but maybe you know the the little things add up. So maybe that's even worse than buying a Ferrari is building a um, a habit of making small irresponsible purchases. So that can probably be just as hurtful
Yeah, over the long scheme, right?
over the long scheme.
What has
So
she said about this change in you? Being a witness to it so close.
oh my gosh, so we went on a walk, probably like shortly after I was on it, but I had kind of started to develop things, and so like um,
Develop things being developed
like
tools.
develop tools and
Okay.
stuff. So she asked me a question about something, and I started talking about that thing, and then another totally like rabbit trail, like tangential topic, like jumped into my mind, and so um, I was talking about this thing. Then that thing popped in my mind, and I verbally said, "Oh, this. I want to talk about this, but I'm not going to talk about this right now. But we'll come back to it. So I finished my thought, then revisited that thought, and then talked about that. And she was like in tears because she had never seen me be able to do that before. So she was just like, she's been incredibly like supportive in this process, and she is just amazed at the change. I was told usually people that start medication, they either notice it themselves or others notice it, and then they don't notice it. And I've had a balance of both. I've been very aware of how I've changed, but others have like totally noticed,
Reinforce
especially
that.
Oh yeah, for sure. So she, like that side of things, like she's just amazed, and she like that has been, she's been totally just blessed by seeing that. You see someone you love really get well, get better. And then, but on the other side, she's having to relearn me. Like like I said earlier, like I'm the same person, but just I communicate almost totally different now. And I'm able to actually just like say what I mean and be more straightforward. Like last night within our conversation, I told her like pretty much verbatim, I don't want to hang out with you tonight.
Damn.
That was really
Way to come down.
that was
John's coming down with the hammer.
right.
I don't want to hang out with you tonight.
Yeah, and like we had a really rough day. And
Rough day with each other, just
no
work-wise.
just work-wise, and I didn't want to talk about health insurance. I didn't want to be expected to sit close to her.
You just wanted to decompress.
I wanted to go to a Crabs game, have a beer, and maybe invite some of my buddies who aren't gonna ask me about my feelings. We're just gonna freaking hang out and watch a game, have a beer, have some food, and just just nothing serious. I just needed my mind to rest, and so that part of ADHD, like the mind restness, hasn't, like that won't go away. My brain is still my brain, but the being able to communicate what I need is much easier, because I probably would have hung out with her or done something, or maybe even gone. Well, so it's funny. I ended up hanging out with her that night. So we but we had this discussion to where like I was on my phone and I looked up the craft schedule, and she was like, "Oh, are we going to like?" I interpreted. I don't know what I heard her say, and she might have.
This sounds like you guys got into an argument over this idea.
Yeah, if you want a successful marriage, you have to learn how to fight. You can't avoid a fight. You have to learn how to fight.
Wise words.
So that is like huge for us. So we.
So you looked up this crab game.
Well, I looked up the crab
She's asking
game.
if you're both going.
Right? Yeah. See, you're seeing the ADHD
I
emotion.
get it, man.
So yeah, she. Gosh, I look up the game. She sees it. She says, I perceive what she said to me as, we're going to a Crabs game tonight. And that shut me down. And that's how ADHD, or before medication, that's like how it would work. I would just get shut down and just be like, either just my decision in that moment was, okay, I just won't go to the game, and I'll just figure out something to do here.
Because you didn't want to go with her.
Yeah, I didn't want to go with her, and I didn't want to. I just didn't want to deal with it. I wanted to avoid it and just be like, okay, we'll do whatever you want to do, whatever. I'm gonna put what I want aside and just bunker down and probably have just a crappy attitude the whole night.
Because you were looking at that Crabs game for you and your buddies. You already had this plan.
I was looking at it for me. Like, I wanted to go, and that's what I wanted, and then everything else was around it. So I was like, okay, I could ask this person to go, and that doesn't feel like it would be work or hard because they're just chill dudes and
Just gonna hang
we're
out.
just gonna hang out. And then and then so and then there's a whole nother dynamic about um like in our past, um if I ever did it, like a lot of times if we aren't intentional about our expectations about when we hang out with people or we go do something, then it kind of leaves it open to like I will focus on my friends and not really focus on Sarah, because you get used to who you're married to. You're with them all the time. You're focusing on
Comfortable.
you're comfortable. So my intentionality is on them and not her, and that can piss her
Yeah, I
off.
was gonna say she probably doesn't take
So
kindly to that.
so, but there are times where I've like abused that, where we're at a baseball game. Baseball's like very important in our on our honeymoon. We went and watched a Giants game. Like we're big baseball fans. So we, on our honeymoon, we're watching a game and I'm talking to some dude that's a few chairs, or a row behind us or something, and we're talking baseball and we're nerding out, and Sarah's sitting there like, hey, we're on our
Honeymoon.
we're on our
You're talking to
honeymoon,
some
and
random guy.
yeah. So, and I'll be like, what? Like, this is
Yeah, what's the problem?
what's
We're
the
just
problem?
talking baseball.
That's what baseball is. It's a boring game, and you talk, and then the crack of the bat happens. You look at what's going on, and then you watch it's foul ball. You go back to your conversation, and then they hit a home run. You stand up, you clap, you cheer, you get excited, and then more boringness happens. And
Yeah.
you can't. I will never argue that baseball is not boring, but baseball is very, very fun, and it's very like relaxing because you don't have to. You're not engaged in like action is not shoved down your throat 24/7. There are rest points.
Yeah.
You have football that's just nonstop. Or like
Yeah,
other
baseball's
sports.
definitely a little more leisurely. Or
Right.
it can be at times.
Yeah.
Right?
And
It's not action
you know,
24/7.
yeah, and you set aside like good time for baseball. You set aside 3 or 4 hours. It's a commitment.
Yeah.
So
And so she had this expectation of, or not expectation, but there had already been this precedent of you kind of being more intentional with other people around you guys.
yeah. So and that was kind of in my mind. Like I'm like, okay, like she's inviting herself to the game, so I'm gonna have to pay attention to her.
And so
then
you're like, just screw it. I'm just
yeah.
going to stay home. I
Right.
didn't want any pressure. That
Yeah.
was the whole point of going to the game.
Right. Yeah.
Now
exactly.
I'm done. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
eat it.
But then I was able to say, like, usually I would have just stayed there, but I was able to make that decision of just saying like, hey, like I like I didn't invite you to the game, and then we kind of talked around that, and then like this is why, and we went back to like those times, apparently I was holding on to, and there were times where she was, we hung out at the game and we talked to other people. Like it wasn't every time, but I held on to those times, right? And I just in this, last night I didn't want that pressure, so I explained that, and then we got through that. She understood, and then I had to say, after talking it through, I'm down for you to go to the game. So once we got through that, she actually ended up going to the game with us, and my buddy came over, he parked his car at our house, and then we went to the game. We had a great time. It was awesome.
Was that just because she then cleared up that expectation? It was like, hey, we can just go and relax.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be any big thing.
Yeah. It just cleared it up. So
And you would not have been able to do that prior to.
It would have been much more difficult. Like, and I'm not saying that medication or anything has, like, it has allowed me to, it's hard to explain. Like, it's not making me more honest, but it's giving me the ability to do so, and just like to really process how I feel, process how I feel, and then I'm able to just say it, and say how it is. I mean, there's it could be a ton of different things, but it's just helped me be able to work on myself and focus on things and build those things around me that where I can be more honest and I can be just more specific and have less anxiety about what I say. And I definitely don't argue as much with people in my head either. I give them a chance to
Actually respond.
actually respond. And I liked my response, and I enjoyed going to the game with my wife. And we shared nachos, and I talked with my buddy, and then I talked to her, or we'd talk together. Like it was a good time.
Just easy.
Yeah, just really easy, and that's what I needed at the time. So, yeah, just a silly example, I guess. But
no, silly example, but a good one, right?
Right.
Because it's those small things, kind of like how spending money in small amounts, it adds up.
Right.
Tweaking little things like that in those moments adds up, I think.
Exactly.
And helps. I mean, especially a relationship overall, I would imagine.
Right.
It's interesting, man. The allure of medication fixing all your problems worries me, but then there's the benefits of, man, sometimes medication actually does help you.
For
you know?
sure.
It's not black and white of, oh, it's all this, it's all bad.
Right.
Or it's all good,
Yeah.
I think the big one is SSRIs, right? And depression and all these things. And you hear about them changing people's mood and making them bland or gray or just not themselves, and that freaks everybody out because nobody wants to be that person. But then you hear stories like this, and it's like, oh shit, maybe medication might actually help your life a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just a hard balance, and you don't really know until you open up the door and find out.
Right. Yeah. And I've really loved what it's been really good. And it's my faith is not in the medication. My trust isn't in the medication. My trust is in the relationships that I've built and the ways that I've grown, and the experiences that I have. That's where it lies. All the substances, that they're just, even coffee. I've gone time without drinking coffee. While I'm making coffee for people, but I don't. Sometimes I just go off of it because I can. I'm not dependent on it to function.
A lot of people are dependent on coffee.
Yeah.
Or just caffeine. Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about drugs? Caffeine's right there. Yeah. How many people are actually addicted to that?
Oh my gosh.
It's a lot.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, and it's a very accepted drug. But yeah.
Do you do anything outside of coffee? Are you a psychedelic guy or anything like that?
No,
nothing.
Definitely not. No,
Clean whistle.
I'm pretty straight edge. Oh. So I'll smoked weed once.
Not for you.
Didn't enjoy it. Like it was. There was a lot of peer pressure that went into it, and I don't think I enjoyed that very much. And just the taste and the smell and the feeling wasn't for me. I could definitely understand why it's appealing to other people, but it just wasn't my thing. I mean, I own a wine. The other part of the coffee shop is wine. So
are you a big wine guy?
Not really. I'll find one type of wine that I really enjoy, so I'll sip on that for a while. But I do really enjoy it, but it's not like I don't nerd out about it like I do coffee.
Like coffee, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll drink wine, cider, a beer here and there.
So are the wines you selling at Harbor, are those just wines that you've tried, you and your wife, and you guys like them, and you're like, okay, we should put this out on display?
So that's where my business partner comes in. He's more of the wine side. Me and Sarah are more of the coffee side, and we cross over. Like I'm trying to learn more of the wine, and he's learning more of the coffee.
That's a cool relationship.
Yeah, it's so great. And that's how, that's why we're in business together. We have such good give and take in our relationship. So, yeah, we will, that's what we'll kind of learn. But and that trust, we trust him to especially the wine's really expensive up front, and then you sell it, and then you're like, okay, we're good. But wine can be really expensive because you have to buy certain amounts of it. If I need two bags of beans, two 5-pound bags of beans, I can buy 2 5-pound bags of beans. But he has to buy like
a case of wine. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that is a lot of trust. He's like, I'm going to buy this and this will sell. And so that, we trust him to do that. And then trust him, like he'll go and go to different vineyards. And I hope to go one of these days.
I mean, we're in California.
Yeah.
You drive south, you've got the best, some of the best wine in the world.
Oh, yeah. And heck, even I love, big shout out to Trinity River Vineyards. Like their wines are spectacular.
We'll have to try that.
Their Pinot is just
really good.
Yeah. It's money. It's so good. That's the one lately that it's my standby. That if people ask what they should try, I'll tell them that, and then if I want a glass of wine, I'll drink that.
Is that your go-to as a Pinot?
Yeah. Yeah. It used to be a Merlot. But,
okay.
But since we started the shop, that the Pinot is where I go usually. So that's been, that's good. And we're trying to focus. I mean, it's pretty easy to be with wine. It's pretty easy to be like relatively local, and Napa area, and then Southern Oregon. We're trying to focus on those places, but we're also trying to find some exclusive stuff. Like my business partner, he went down, and I believe it's Brashley Vineyards, and they were just kind of they weren't doing. They weren't like producing a lot, but he went down
like
there
a small batch.
Yeah, and so he went down there and tasted it, and then like we were able to get them, and we've been carrying their stuff. They came and did a wine tasting at our shop, and that's cool. Something we're trying to do is more and more events, more and more community things, and so that's been really cool to have different winemakers come and just have them talk about their wine. And so that was kind of something born of just going down and getting to know some of these winemakers that aren't maybe as well known as some of the others.
What is you guys' price point for wine? Even like the mid-range kind of wines?
Yeah, that's part of it. Like we're trying to offer kind of the whole spectrum. So if you want a really fancy, nice, bottle or glass, we have some of those options. And then we've got those mid-range options, and then some of the, our house wine is like really affordable, and we have a couple more options that are good quality, but they're not that,
top shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can get expensive. Wine can get expensive.
Oh, it sure can. It's crazy.
Do you guys do a pretty good balance of wine to coffee?
Yeah, so it's pretty
Probably
good.
More coffee.
Yeah, more coffee.
Yeah.
I think coffee's a little easier. It's not as, even though we do it, maybe we prepare it in a more niche way. People, it's not as niche as wine is. We do carry beers as well.
Okay.
We have like 2 beers, and we offer Humboldt Cider Company as well. So we have some options for our non-wine drinkers. And yeah, our evenings are a lot more like laid back, chill, and we're trying to build more and more of our evening crowd. We do paninis and salads. We got a killer Caesar salad right now. Like, the same trust we give, Bailey, we try to give Justin and one of our main like chefs or cooks. His name's Logan, young guy, just really passionate about food. So he has, he kind of constructed this chicken Caesar salad. That's
really
it's
good.
a Caesar salad, but
Caesar salads can be. I lived in college. I lived on a Caesar salad on this like flatbread.
Right.
And that was my staple most days, and they're good.
Oh, yeah. It's really good.
Little chicken thrown in there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So yeah, he roasts his own croutons and stuff.
Oh,
And
he's serious. Okay, I think
yeah.
where I
So,
got
like,
him, it was just like store bought croutons. I don't think
right.
they were that fancy.
Yeah. So he does.
He's doing his thing.
Yeah. So everything we do is pretty Panini's a panini. Some people have a hard time grasping that a panini means a hot sandwich. People have come in.
People struggle with that concept.
Yeah, they're like, your panini, your sandwiches. I didn't know this was gonna be hot, and our employees are like, yeah,
it's
that's
a panini.
That's kind
it's
of
not a sandwich.
yeah. So they're like, can we have this cold? And we'll do it for them, but it's just yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
But like you'd expect the panini to be a panini, but you have a world of possibilities how you construct it and build it, and so we've got a pretty good menu. We're trying to get creative with our specials. We've got we do avocado toast.
I saw pictures of
like
that, man. It looks good. I'm a sucker for avocados.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try that one.
So yeah, we've got avocado toast. We got this, and we use brio bread. It's just so good. So we and then we have it's brio bread, and then goat cheese, apricots and blackberries, and it's just so good. Like that's our special right now. It's delicious. So
I'm gonna grab. Do you want a beer? I'm gonna grab a beer really fast.
Yeah, sure.
It's a little warm.
Yeah, I would love a water too.
Water.
Yeah.
I've got water. Sweet. And we've got beer or sake.
Beer's great.
Perfect. It's a little warm in here.
Yeah, it's been warm lately.
I've not gotten dialed yet on the podcast with our temperature control. That's the work in progress. Because you can't have like a super loud fan in here.
Yeah.
Because then you're getting poor audio quality.
Right. That's a good point.
Okay, but walk me through this. How did you and your wife get into coffee? Because that doesn't seem like something people just stumble into.
Yeah.
At least outside of your canned coffee drinks in your Starbucks, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How did the third wave start?
Really from, we were going to college, working at, we worked at a drive-through coffee shop. That was our first experience with coffee, but it wasn't third wave. It wasn't like specialty. It was just pretty
stop and go.
Yeah,
basic run of the mill.
Yeah. Yeah. So we definitely have an appreciation for drive-through coffee. Like it's a totally different beast.
Seems intense.
Much respect. Yeah. So it's really nice to have a spot where it's a little more chill. But yeah, that was our first experience, and then we just in Reading there were so many, like there were 2 or 3 different coffee shops that were specialty, and we just grew to love. We kind of developed a taste for it, and then when we came back and we weren't getting that taste, we were like,
we need this.
And then we would prepare coffee ourselves, at home, and I still don't have an espresso machine at home, but I would do pour over.
I don't know what pour over is. What is that?
It's a 3-minute pour, and then so you've seen maybe a glass or ceramic or a metal,
with the
metal
design
filter
through it.
Oh no,
that's something different.
Yeah, this is just black coffee.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a little cone filter, and then you could put your cup underneath it, or you could put it's usually like a ceramic or a glass jar that collects your coffee. So you pour it over, and use a gooseneck kettle because it's easier to if it's a normal kettle, just has the hole, and you pour it, and you can't really control how much water distribution you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
It just all kind of comes out in a flow. But gooseneck allows the water to flow a little more calculated. So you pour it over, and you pour in a circular motion, and then your first pour is about 60 to 70 grams of water. Yes, I weigh it out. So I weigh out my
even at home you're technically
even at home. Yeah, and for years, like I'm calculating my coffee for years. So that kind of love and intentionality with my coffee has always been there. So pour over. The first pour is the bloom, so it releases a lot of the acidity out of the grounds, and just kind of it just gets the coffee ready for the rest of the pour for a nice balanced tasting cup. And something I learned actually, I was pouring consistently just bad cups, and one of our baristas helped me realize that my second pour actually has to be faster. When you're like pouring and you're in a slow method, like you can get your mindset as okay, it's okay that it's slow, but actually I had to speed up my pouring, and it really improved. Like that little change improved my taste of coffee. So the second pour is about to 200 grams of water altogether, and then you kind of let it go down, but you want a similar amount of like gravity going through, and then the third pour is all the way to 350 grams, and that gives you about 12 ounces of coffee.
So are you throwing away the first two pours, or just the first one?
No, the pours are going into your container.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I think I've seen a method similar to this, but only in tea, and they pour over the tea, but then I think they always throw out the first batch of tea because it's not as strong. So you pour it over once, throw out the first cup, and then you keep pouring, and that's what you're going to drink.
Yeah,
Might be something totally different, but that's what's coming to mind when I'm hearing this.
No, yeah, we keep.
So you're keeping all of it in the container.
If we pour it over the grounds, we pre-wet the filter, like we pour and wet the filter before we put our coffee grounds in, and we throw that water out, obviously.
So how did you get to that stage? It was just working in the coffee shop and getting tired of that coffee, so you started branching out a little bit, or?
Kind of, yeah. It just was we would
and you and your wife were married at this point, and you guys are just.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
okay, wow. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And so you kind of cultivated this coffee, this love of coffee together.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I mean her standard drinks. She's more. I mean, if she drinks black coffee, she'll put some like coconut creamer or almond milk or oat milk in it. But I love black coffee. Like even like I've got my own coffee shop, and I go into my coffee shop and I get a cup of drip coffee. The Columbia is tasty. I like it. 9 times out of 10, that's what I get. And if I want a little treat, I get a cortado, which is equal parts espresso to milk, and that's it. And that's if I go to any other coffee shop that's specialty, that's what I'll get. I'll get either a pour over or a drip, and then a cortado. It's just
hits a
spot. So that's what I'm happy with. So when we'd go out of town, we would get those at different specialty coffee shops, and just really, again, just learning. Like we went to one coffee shop and like there was a barista that did something that I wasn't used to seeing, and I asked why he did that, and he got so excited. Like if some coffee shops don't like you to talk to baristas because it really is a focused, like
you gotta be locked.
You gotta be locked. Like we want, we really want our baristas to focus and be able to make a good cup. But I think, like, I love it when people are invested in the process. And it wasn't on purpose. It's kind of just what we this is what we could do with the space. Was a lot of times the back of the espresso machine is facing the customer, but we had to put our espresso machine against the back wall, so it's all open, so people can see exactly what we're doing. So it can be intimidating when you see someone, you're like, oh, I know you know a lot about coffee, and they're watching, like they're literally watching you
this
prepare.
process
so
unfold.
It can get tough, but it's cool that we have, like I always love the restaurants where the guy's making the pizza, spreading the dough right in front of you. So I really like that aspect of people are watching, and I'll look over when I'm making a drink, and they're locked in the process. So that's always fun to me too, that they're kind of sharing the experience and ask questions, get to know like why we do what we do, and I really enjoy that. So that's kind of how we would, I'd watch and ask questions and learn, and then just apply it to my own coffee approach.
It's weird how things just organically form like that, right? You just get a job at a coffee shop, start making coffee, and then here we are 7 years later, and or however many. This was probably what 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, about 3 or 4 years ago.
And now you're making coffee.
Now we're making coffee
at your own coffee shop. How crazy is that?
Yeah, it's so crazy. It's insane.
And what is you are working on your master's, or are you taking a year off right now?
Yeah, I hit pause once we decided to go through with the coffee shop.
What is your master's in?
Strategic leadership.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I don't think I've heard of that before.
Yeah, it's actually one that it's at least when I started it in like 2019, then took a break, and then I re-entered, finished that year, and then now I'm taking another break. I've experienced that's a lot of people with their masters. Like they knock out their bachelors, but their masters usually take a little more time.
A little while.
But when I had started it, it was becoming more and more popular. I don't know where it is now, but like people, like tons of. I was talking to someone that worked for the hospital, and they were like, they were more on the admin side, and they were like, yeah, I'd hire someone with strategic leadership over a lot of different degrees, because you're learning how to lead people and deal with people and work with people, and I think that's really valuable right now.
So it's like a management kind of position that you would work into.
Yeah. So
that's interesting. What made you want to do that?
Again, just to become a better leader.
That's interesting. Yeah. What was your bachelor's in?
Bible and theology.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so weird that here you are making coffee. Bible and leadership.
Yeah. Or Bible and theology.
Theology.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. And then strategic leadership is the
Bible and theology with a. Are we talking about the Christian Bible?
Yeah, the Christian Bible. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you super religious? That's a loaded question, right? If you ask, are you super? What does that mean? Am I gonna?
It depends how you perceive me, I guess.
I'm pro-life. I don't believe. Right. I believe in all the commandments.
Yeah, I'm not a Republican.
Okay.
I think those two get really mixed up.
Yeah.
So.
Those two kind of go hand in hand.
Oh, absolutely.
Or at least are perceived that way, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. They have definitely intermingled and gotten really confused. But, there are a lot of Christians that aren't Republican. There are a lot of Republicans that aren't Christians. So that's what I believe. So, but I understand that some people can't separate the two, because there's been a lot of hurt and damage done. But I just try to live to my convictions and beliefs, and then let that show for itself. And then, yeah.
So are you a Christian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I identify. It's easy for people to, that's the most simple. Like a relationship with Jesus, I follow God, like that.
What's the complicated aspect of that?
Because Christianity is so connected to so many different assumptions. So when you say,
so that's kind of where your hesitation comes from.
Yeah, that's where my hesitation.
You hear Christian, and it's like, okay, let's start connecting dots here.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah, and it's I mean, I am a pastor. And
wow,
so
this pod just keeps getting deeper.
I know. So,
well, we started off with coffee. We should have started off with your wow.
Yeah. So I don't.
A pastor making coffee. So are you getting out like sermons? Hey, here's your coffee. John 3:15. Ba-da-ba-da.
No, that's definitely not.
Wow.
No, I my faith has changed my life, like even we talk about, medications and like everything we just talked about is me, and my faith does have a big part to play in that, and that has what I've found has helped me, and that's important to me. But it doesn't have to be important to. I don't expect it to be important to anyone else. But if you're interested in my faith and how it has, like, like some people would come to me and say, like, how has, Adderall affected you? Like, I've, equally, here's how my faith has affected me.
You're open with it.
Yeah, I'm very, very open, but I'm not pushy. Like, we just had, I don't know how long we've been
talking for a while. It never came out. You just dropped a bombshell.
Right, and I'm not hiding it. I'm not ashamed of it, but it doesn't.
You're not cramming it down people's throats.
And I'm aware, like, when we say I'm a Christian, then all of a sudden assumptions come, and like, so I'm aware that happens. So, like, it's not like I don't have to come on your podcast and just start preaching, But it's it is the lessons, the things that I've learned and been taught and grown, really do have a lot to do with my faith.
So when you think of Christianity, what does that mean for you?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, yeah. I'm trying not to get too like preachy. So.
Oh, we don't have to go there if you don't.
No, I don't. I just don't want to.
Oh, you can preach. I actually had a. Is it a preacher when it's the Christian church, or pastor?
There's all sorts of different. Some go by reverend, preacher, pastor.
I had a pastor on, a while ago. Martin Tunzi, great guy.
Yeah.
And we talked all about it because I'm interested in it. I was born and raised Catholic. In the church. Cool. Went to Sunday school, went to church every Sunday.
Absolutely.
First communion, confirmation, the whole shebang. And then later in life, when I was living in Sacramento with my sister, I went to a Christian church for a couple times. And it was just fascinating seeing that switch that gets turned just from even that small separation. Because Catholics and Christians are kind of siblings, you could say.
Yeah,
right? And then seeing how they handled a sermon and then seeing how the Catholic Church did it. It was just crazy seeing the difference.
It's so different, but it's so like I have a ton of respect. Like I'm more definitely I don't listen to a lot of like hymns or stuff, but going into a church that does hymns and they worship they worship the same God that I do, but they do it in a totally different way. It's like so cool.
Totally different way.
Like I love it. Like it's it can be tough when people that are used to a church operating, then they come to your church and they're like, you should operate this way, and have to be like, well, that's not the way that we worship. We do more contemporary songs than hymns, and so like that. But we'll throw a hymn.
Do you work at a church too?
Yeah.
You do service?
Yeah.
Wow, this really does keep going now.
Yeah.
Really? What church?
Faith Center.
Yeah. Oh, no shit.
So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I do youth, young adults, and I help with worship.
Wow, so this whole theme of leadership is huge for you, because you're trying to, help people on their journey literally in their faith.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that idea of
what does Christianity mean to you?
Yeah. It is more than just a set of even this can get pretty cliche, but it's more than just a book of morals or a historical book, referring to the Bible. It's more than just a tradition to me. It's really a relationship. Like I do feel like my spirit like connects with Jesus. Like we pray and like I have a personal relationship with Jesus. It's more than just out of obligation or fear of going to hell or or whatever it may be. Like it's something that has been proved over and over to me through my relationship with him and through just like through personal relationship through, reading the Bible and prayer and worship and all that. Like, I've just experienced Jesus on a level that I can't deny it, So, and then if I want to live according to, when you are impacted, when you're impacted by someone, and like I've been impacted by Jesus, I want to be more like him, and I want to live in a way that's pleasing to God, but also in a way that is following in his footsteps. So I when I read scripture, and I see how Jesus lived, I want to emulate that. The leadership that Jesus emulated, I want to emulate that. Like in his life, like when he was doing ministry on earth, he had his disciples baptizing people. Like Jesus was equipping them to do ministry. So that's how I approach. Like you can see that in how I run the coffee shop. I equip people to do work, to follow their dreams.
You've got your disciples.
And it's another hesitation is in, I try to be diligent in keeping those two things, the church and my business, separate in a way where, like, there's no ownership. The only connection that Faith Center has with our coffee shop is me and Sarah. We work there, but we own this coffee shop.
You try to maintain the boundaries.
Yeah, so I try to keep a very clear separation of what we do. And at the coffee shop, I'm taking the approach of being a business owner, and just my faith affects my approach to people, but I'm not pushing them either way. I'm not, and it's honestly a breath of fresh air, because I don't hire someone based on their morals or what they believe or their religion. I hire based on, can they do the job, and they're going to do it well, and are they going to learn, and the expectations that I have. So it allows me just to be around people and grow from people who are different than me, but I can employ them without worrying about, morals and all that. And that's, to me, like at a church, and I'm not saying it's wrong. Like if someone volunteers at a church, you want to make sure that they're, in step and in line with what you believe. But it can be difficult if you want to reach people. Sometimes when people come to our church, we expect them to already, I guess, have the moral mindset and we for some reason expect them, and I'm talking about the church in general. I think Faith Center does really well at accepting a lot of people, but I think it's still a church, and people expect a church to, for the people that go to church for some reason, to have it all together and have everything figured out and look like they do, and look like, get kind of cultish in a sense of like, you have to look and act and or at least pretend,
that's a real danger.
Yeah, it's a huge danger.
That's a danger that a lot of groups, not just churches, fall into.
Right.
That sense of conformity, and that you have to be, lock and toe of where we're going and our ideals. Like, There's no room for you to have your own beliefs outside of it. Like, we're lockstep. This is how we feel.
Exactly.
And we feel this way as a group.
Right. And people try to do it to me. Like when I mentioned I had Dutch Bros in my hand, like
they want you to be about your
coffee and nothing else.
Anti every other coffee, and start shitting on all the other coffee shops.
Exactly. So, I listened to this podcast, and it's Christian. It's a Christian podcast. It's actually the creator of VeggieTales. I don't know if you've.
Oh yeah. Well,
he has a podcast, and he speaks to, like, him and a few other people. He has like a panel, and they just discuss like current events. And they have a really refreshing Christian view of like what's going on currently. And one of the things they criticized was a lot of Republicans or like there's this like that a lot of people there's this phrase of taking back America, you know, and
Make America great again.
Make America great again, and specifically the phrase of and I've heard it, like I know that this is the mindset of some people, like they're saying let's take back America, and like this podcast made the point of like who you're taking America back from other Americans, like.
Or what does that mean?
Like, what does that even mean? Like they may believe differently, but we're still supposed to be unified in the fact that we're Americans. And historically, we've had, we've had other people, I guess, try to take America, and we've been unified in that. But now we're trying to take it from ourselves, and that doesn't make sense to me. But I think that's built. I think that mindset, I don't think that's unique to Christians or Republicans, or we have this mindset today that we just, we're against each other. And that's a mindset that I don't want present in really anything I do, as especially my business. Like, I'm not against anyone, and I want to be for everyone, and they don't have to believe the same way. Like, I would love for people to experience the same relationship that I do with Jesus, but Jesus let people walk away. And that's, that was, but he was still consistent in their lives and loving and gracious. And that's what I want to, that's the part that I want to emulate, and I don't want to justify any bad behavior that I have, by anything Jesus did. Like, if you look into, Jesus flipping tables, it was, if you really look into the context of that passage, it doesn't justify people getting angry or being violent. It's there's more to it than that. So I always try to. I'm getting kind of soapboxy, but
no, that's fine.
But I always just try to, I've been changed by Jesus, and I have a relationship with him, and I walk with him, and I want people to experience that from me.
You're passionate about it.
I'm passionate about it, but it's okay if you don't believe the same way I do. But I think people will probably want me to be a little more stern and a little more
forceful with it in a weird way.
But that's just not who I am.
That's a good thing.
I mean, I get fiery when I preach. I'm preaching this weekend, and I get passionate, and I will preach what God's telling me, and what I'm learning from the Word and the Scripture and what I'm studying. But those people are there because they want to be. Well, most of them.
Yeah, nobody's going to church because they hate church.
Right, exactly.
Well, unless you're
they've come,
a child and you're being forced together.
I'm hoping that they've come in the spirit of unity, and preaching to people who either want to learn more, or do believe in some sort of, they believe pretty similarly to what I believe, but I'm preaching to Republicans and Democrats and Green Party and everyone, yeah, but we're unified under we believe in Jesus. And
do you feel like Christianity has been? Sorry to interrupt you there.
Oh, no.
Do you feel like Christianity has been co-opted in a little bit of a sense where there's this extreme group kind of trying to make it something that you don't attribute it to? Like, you hear Christianity gets a lot of rap for the abortion, right? Yeah. That's you think anti-abortion, you think Christians, and more so just religious people, because Catholics fall into that realm too. But it seems to kind of fall more on the Christian faith. Like, that's everybody's go-to. These Christians that are trying to take away women's rights.
Right.
Is that hard for you to kind of balance out, or do you have a pretty good separation of, no, that's not what I think the faith is? That's kind of like you get the radical left, right, of these people trying to push it way farther and do these things, and you have people in the movement that say, no, this isn't us, this is a radical group co-opting whatever we want to be and making it this thing.
That weighs heavily on me, because I'm just I'm just me, and I can't change that. I feel like it's such a huge, pull, and so many people and churches have just adopted that mindset that um, that you have to jump on these hot buttons and these issues, and then if you're not conservative or if you don't say you're pro-life, then you're not a Christian, or you hate babies, or you are supportive of murder, and that's the pushback is pro-life should be both, right? you should be passionate about both lives, and I mean, then you get into you can just get into just so many different details of that, but I personally believe that it's an issue that doesn't really belong in politics. I think it's bigger than politics. I don't think it's going to be solved whether it's legal or not. I think people should be, in charge of their bodies, and women should have that right. But we should, right? Like, it's just a general.
It just makes sense.
It makes sense,
yeah.
Right? So, and it's just weird to me that a group that pushes for personal freedom, and a lot of other things, like pretty much everything else, is really stickler about this one. And I think they're like, well, we're fighting for the voiceless life, so that gives them a little more fire.
And the cause of morality, right? 'Cause
right.
You're fighting for this life that can't defend itself.
Right. So it's really easy to get caught up in that, and it's really easy to forget that the human that's carrying the baby, the human. That's important to remember, the human, and it's oh man, I had something pop in my mind, but that was good. But
the choice of what to do in that situation is just
it
should be up to the person. I mean, you don't know their circumstance. You don't know what is going on there.
And it's as easy, like there are people who have gone to get abortions and have decided not to, and have been very thankful that they didn't go through with it. And I would like to be a person who, if someone says they're pregnant and they're not sure if they should keep it, I have been in that situation of like, not personally, not like my baby, but with other people saying like, I don't know
what to do.
I don't know what to do. And just being there for them, not having to go into like, how dare you have this child, or
try to chastise
them for
whatever decision.
It's already done. They already did it, and I know it's a process that really hurts. Like, if I know people who have miscarriages and just been heartbroken over it, and it really does affect you, and making that decision does affect you. And whatever choice they make, I want to be there for them and not put up a wall. And that's what I feel like that's what the church has done, is put up a wall. So if you choose to go through with it, or if you're even questioning to go through with it, why would you go to the church? Why would you go to Christians? And it's like, going back to your question, that's what's hardest for me, is knowing that you ask, are you a Christian? And unfortunately, that's what's been tied to it. And we've tied things to, like, Christ's name is in Christian, and we've tied things to his name that's not of him. And that really makes me upset. And that's really hard. That's why I live in a way that is reflective of Jesus, but I don't always have to wear it on my t-shirt, or Goofy, Christ-a-cola, or, you've seen those parody t-shirts. That's just I don't, I go to a Giants game. I don't even wear Giants stuff because I'm not there to be a fanboy. I'm not a Christian to be a fanboy. I'm a Christian because I have been radically changed by Jesus, and I believe in it for other people. But you have to be willing to receive it, and I'm not going to force you to do that. That's not my job. I believe that's God's job to do, and your choice. So that is, so back to the, abortion or LGBTQ, like all that stuff. Like, I believe you should be able to do, like, if you don't believe the same way that I do, and your conviction is not my same conviction, then you should, on a standard, like not on a spiritual standard, but on a human moral level, you should be able to do what you feel is right based on your moral code. And if you break a governmental moral code, like murder or, the things that are illegal that our justice system, I believe you should be held accountable to those things. But if you live according to a moral code that has been legalized by, the government, then go for it. Like I'm not gonna say, I'm not gonna stand on my soapbox and tell you you're gonna go to hell. But of course I want people. I do believe that my I do have the answer to a freer life and a life without bondage or addiction, or like I believe that my faith does have answers, and that it does mean people will experience an eternal life. I hold all the basic beliefs, but it's not tied to, and some people will be offended that, you believe that I'm going to hell. Like, okay, like, I don't want to put that on you. Like, but that is somewhat, what I believe, but that is, I'm not going to live in a way that pushes that on you. If you believe in your being that that's not true, then okay. But I'm going to live in a way according to my beliefs. And I hope that the way that I treat you and interact with you and love you, that's lost on a lot of Christians. Love is like number one. Like, you can.
Yeah, it's touted a lot. It's just not practiced.
It's not practiced at all. Well, I shouldn't say that. I know tons of loving Christians, but if we're talking about Republican or political Christianity, then I don't see it. But like, yeah, and I mean, Christians should be involved with politics. Politicians go to church and some politicians don't, like, but, yeah, I would say that, yeah, we just, I don't know if I'm rambling.
No,
I'm just
I was following along your trend there.
Yeah,
it's just it's an interesting thing. I think it's good for people to hear this perspective that you're giving, because it's one that isn't pushed out there as hard as the other one, right?
No.
That idea of why would I care? Just live your life. If you want to go down this path, great. It's accepting. We're here for you. If you don't, great.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter. As long as someone's not being forceful with you, let people believe whatever they want to believe.
Right.
People believe in crazy shit. I've talked to people that believe in crazy shit.
Right.
We all have. It's as long as you're not hurting somebody and you're not being an asshole, I guess, about it. Like, believe what you want to believe.
Yeah.
You don't have to attribute it to these things and then make this what it is. Like, it's easy to take abortion and throw it in the Christian camp and
exactly.
Tag that on. But honestly, I've met a lot of Christians that are in the movement of it's not my choice. I
Right.
personally wouldn't do it, but I don't think you shouldn't have access to it. I'm like, that's great.
Right.
That's how it should
Exactly.
be. Because if you think it's bad, don't do it.
Right.
And if
Exactly.
if you are in the position and you want to have it done, great, do it. Like,
Yeah.
what? There doesn't have to be a separation from that.
Exactly.
Just do what you need to do and what
Right.
you are comfortable doing.
Right.
And then that's all we can ask of anybody.
Right.
I think it's just easy to throw people into a box.
Right.
And if the narrower and tighter you can compact that box, perfect. We're just going to throw everyone in there, and that's it. That's just what Christians are. They're shitty people that hate women.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
Is that? I've met
That's not true.
The crazy thing is, and I don't know if this is good or bad. I think it's a little bit of both. I've met more people who are religious that are more accepting than people who are like far left or far right.
Yeah.
They're not.
Right.
It's like, okay, that's interesting because the stigma is that, oh no, Christians and Catholics and these religious people are not accepting.
Right.
And that's not what I'm finding.
No.
I'm sure there are. I don't want to take away from that. There definitely are because I've talked to those people, but I've spoken to a lot of people that don't fit into that box.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing to see.
It really is. And I think the fear is if you don't take a stance against something, are you enabling the behavior? And I don't think that's true. I think you can disagree with something and not practice it yourself, and that's enough of a testimony. Like, I'm not dependent on drugs or even coffee or stuff. I'm dependent on my relationship with Jesus, and I hope that speaks to people. And if someone is addicted to drugs, I will help them walk through it, but they have to make the choice. Like we helped my wife and I helped someone get off of nicotine. We didn't really. I mean, there were times where I said, "Hey, this is affecting your life. Like this is hindering you." Like there were because we have built relationship with them, we were able to speak honestly with them. But it wasn't until they made that decision, then we were able to be like, okay, we'll help.
You can't help somebody that doesn't want to be helped.
Yeah,
that's the biggest
and
the biggest lesson to learn.
If you do, you just push them away
and make life miserable in the process.
Yeah,
it's never somebody doesn't want to be around you if you're constantly trying to say, hey,
exactly,
maybe you shouldn't be doing this.
I was raised in the church, so I've experienced all sorts of different people that are in the church, and like there are some Christians I don't even want to be around because it's that bad. Mm-hmm. Like I don't want to talk about politics all the time. Sometimes if we're around a campfire, have a cigar and there are settings that are more enticing to have. Okay, let's go into politics and kind of
let's delve into that realm.
That's learning. I'm not going to read a political book, but I'll have a like this, a conversation where we can learn from each other.
One that's not imposing.
Right. Exactly.
We just stumbled on this naturally and started talking about it. It's not one of us sitting here trying to bash the other over the head with this idea of, no, you need to conform to this.
Right.
We got to chuck this box for you today.
Yeah.
Because who wants to have those conversations?
Right.
The idea that you can beat an idea into somebody and make them believe what you believe is just, it's absurd.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
History has proven that. We've learned that time and time again.
Exactly.
Forcing people to conform it's never a good thing.
Yeah.
Never pans out.
Yeah. Exactly. And if they do go along with it, if it appears to work for now, very commonly they'll look back in a few years and be like, "Oh, that was messed up." Like, So that's I think we have to be careful with immediate success. Because like starting a business, like we cannot rely on immediate success right now.
You can't rest on your laurels.
We got to keep
working.
We got to keep going, and then we're seeing business pick up, but we have to keep that going. We have to be hungry for more growth and stuff. So like we're still we're 7 months into a 5-year journey. So we just gotta keep with it, and that's what we have to remember as people, and in my Christian faith, and with the church that I serve at, like, we got to remember that this is a long run thing, and we just have to walk according to what we're called to.
It's a marathon, not a race.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that's the key. It's just endurance. I've had a lot of people. I know a lot of people who, we're 7 years into ministry, and we've seen a lot of people quit. A lot of people walk away. A lot of people get burnt out. And that's what I try so hard to remind people, like, yeah, it's going to be really, really tough sometimes. Even in the church, Christians are not nice to each other sometimes. If you're dealing with people.
Is that the biggest conflict? Is that internal one for Christians? Because there's definitely a lot of external pressure, right? I think that's obvious to see. But is there...
Yes, because I don't know... I don't really know exactly... Like, it's not a quantity thing.
One bad apple can spoil the bunch. That's the saying, right?
It's really a, like... If you're... if someone's outside of your circle, and they can, at least for me, they can say whatever they want. They don't really get it. They don't quite understand. If we're talking about, like, at the coffee shop, we get a ton of you shoulds. And
you shoulds?
You should. So you should offer this. You should have more flavors.
People having ideas.
You should have this and I love the ideas, and some are actually really good. But if you're not like working for me, if you're not close, or if you're not like in the world,
I'm shutting that off.
I'm not inclined to listen to it. I'll listen to anyone, but I'm not inclined to put that into practice. But the people that are close, that are walking the journey with me, I'm going to listen to a little more. The people that are like, and respect for, like, I'm making coffee a lot, but I'm not necessarily in the back of house. I'm not grilling paninis all the time. I love doing it. Like, sometimes we'll have someone calling sick, so it's up to the owner to hop in and
go sleep. It's my time to shine.
I'm just like, man, it is fun, but that's not where I'm supposed to be all the time. But it's fun to do. But if they tell me they need new knives, I don't have to grab the knife and be like, oh, it's fine. I can say, okay, I'll order you some new knives, because I trust them, and we should expand the menu, and then we'll have a discussion about.
Well, they're close to it, right? They're in it with you.
Exactly. So when people in your circle start criticizing you and hurling insults at you, it makes it, because you're so used to listening to them, and you regard their influence as more, that's when it becomes really hurtful. So in Christianity, in the church, it hurts more when it comes from internal.
Because then you have to accept, okay, there might be something to look at here.
There might be something to look at, or they're just so, like, why, like, there have been times lately, like, I really try to take everything and learn from it, but also there are times where I'm just like, they're like way off, like they heard a rumor, or they heard something that happened, and they didn't come, like, I thought we had more trust. I thought they would have come to me and said, like, and I have had people come and be like, hey, like, I heard this, like, what's up with that? And I will say, oh, this is actually, like, this is like really what happened. And so, like, to have people that won't just go to you and just make sure, check the facts first, and then like either understand and let it go, or just be okay with, like, oh yeah, okay, like, that makes sense. People that, like, intentionally want to hurt you, that are in your circle, that you've built relationship, can, like, hurts more than people outside that just, they don't quite get it. They don't quite understand, and that's okay. And I have much more grace for that than people that do get it and should be operating in a way that Jesus would like, and then they don't, and so that gets really hurtful. So, but
hard to balance that, right?
Yeah, hard to balance. So that's probably the most difficult, and I encourage people in the church, and especially in leadership. Like, I mean, Christians are most critical of leadership, people in leadership. Like, you really, when you step into Christian leadership, you're putting a target on your back.
So that's why that explains your big connection to leadership then, right? Is because you're trying to hone in on, okay, how do I prevent that from happening to me? Let's pull off the target. Let's just try to do a good job.
Right. And that's, and it's hard because I'm 27. I've been doing it for 7 years, and there are.
You've been a preacher from 20 years old.
Yep, started at 19.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You knew at 19 that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, right at senior year of high school, I pretty much gave up everything else and was like, this is like what I'm supposed to do. So I
just felt called to do it.
Yep, right into Bible college, and then I think my sophomore year of college, I got a job at a church that was right across the street in Reading, and then we went from there.
Were you planning that before 19? Was that on your radar of, oh, this might be something I'd be interested in?
Yeah, like some sort of ministry, like.
You were kind of leaning that way.
I was leaning that way. I didn't know what it would look like. I definitely didn't think it would look like this, but that was where I was leaning. And tons of different opportunities in the church and outside of the church have been thrown my way, and that's, I've had to sift through that and work through all that, and I'm really, really glad that I am where I am. But at 27, I have 7 years, and been married for 7 years, so I guess I'm maybe going on 8 years of ministry and then 7 years of marriage. So, like that's. I've got a lot of schooling. Like, we've had to grow up a lot faster than most people our age. So a 27-year-old that's not me is in a totally different place. But a lot of times people just see age and they don't see the blood, sweat, and tears and what we've had to go through.
Do people not take you seriously when they see you for the first time on stage? Like, if somebody comes into the church, or they're like, why is this kid up on the stage? What is he going to do?
Yeah, and that is funny. Because the Bible says that, like in 1 Timothy, the author of the book, Paul is writing to Timothy, who is a young preacher, and he tells Timothy, don't let anyone despise you because of your youth. And it's just
is that your opening line?
And
hey guys.
Yeah, exactly. And that is like, it can be overused. Like, I can say, people can come to me and be like, hey, like, you made a mistake, and I can be like, oh, it's just because I'm young, or it can become a defense mechanism. But it's been a helpful verse for me. And again, I don't force people to respect me because the Bible says to respect me because I'm young. When I feel like I'm limited, based on my age, it's a verse that's written to someone to endure when it happens. It's not like, Timothy, you need to stop it from happening. It's going to happen. Endure it. Keep through it. Don't quit because people despise you because you're young. So that's how I live. Like, it's really fun. Like, I've found that the Bible really does speak to me today, from a book that's been written, thousands of years ago. It still is very, very true to me today. And so when that kind of stuff happens, I know that I can withstand that. But I've always thought it would come from older people, but I'm realizing it also
comes from younger people.
Because they're envious of my position.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because I have, been, when you have experienced things and you carry yourself, like, I used to have a bigger beard. People thought I was older. That really helped. But
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I got tired of parents asking me where the youth pastor was. So I grew a beard, and then they were like, oh, okay, there is an adult here. But that was, the having people, younger have kind of that envy for my position when I'm just being trusted. I'm just being trusted because I've been doing it. I've been very, very faithful. The Bible also says if you're faithful with a little, God will entrust you with much. So, like, I have been faithful in the little times, and God has given me a lot more just things to do, trust from other leaders, and people may see it as privilege or favoritism or whatever, but it really is just because we've been faithful through everything, and we're trying to steward that favor that we receive from people well. But sometimes people can't see, like, oh, he's 27, I'm 27. Why is he getting these opportunities and I'm not, And it's you can't tell someone,
hey, I've been working my ass off for the past 8 years.
I earned this, man.
Who's 19 doing this? Come on.
Yeah.
They don't want to see
just,
that.
No. It is what it is. And so Sarah and I just have chosen, and this is like, I hope no one's being like, oh, there's faith center drama or anything. Like it's just we've received this. We've worked at a lot of different churches and interacted with a lot of different churches and a lot of different people. So this is, I speak very generally because it's beyond faith center. It's really like a Christian culture.
Well, it's not even a Christian culture. It's a life thing. If you are young and in a position of power with anything, people will instantly want to dismiss what you're doing.
Right.
Just because they're envious, because they don't think that they could do that, or maybe they want to do that and they're not. So then they're just going to write it off. Everybody does that.
We literally, if we could, we would leave our business. We have we have actually 4 or 5 people under the age of 21. And if we didn't serve wine, Sarah and I wouldn't have to be there at all. Like, we just, because you have to have people over 21 with wine and stuff. So, we really believe in younger people and their ability to lead. We just ask them not to arrive. You've not arrived. You still have a lot to learn.
To arrive.
Hey, I've made it.
Try to jump the gun.
I've learned everything that I need to.
I'm done. I got it all figured out.
They want you to validate where they are now, and that they're good enough now. And they don't always want you to say, well, you're going to be a good barista. You're going to be a good cook. You're going to be a good pastor. They want to know, they are doing enough now.
There. I'm there now. I made it.
It's I will say, you are good now.
But you could be a little bit better down the road.
Yes,
just
and we all can.
Working.
I'm 27 and I've seen a lot, but I have not arrived, and I probably won't. And I have that mindset, and I wish I had it younger.
But I think that's where the fun comes in, right? I think if you actually hit that final destination, where do you go? Part of the fun is continually trying to get better. And whatever your craft is, whatever you're passionate about, the joy is taking those progressive steps.
Yeah.
Getting a little bit better tomorrow.
Yeah.
A little bit better the next day.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be as satisfying if you just hit that mark, especially early on. If you tried something, if you were an incredible pastor right at 19,
yeah.
I mean, okay.
Exactly.
There's no incentive to get better.
No.
Because you're already right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that is, having to listen to my voice. I don't even know if I'm going to listen to this.
I don't blame you. I would not listen to them if I didn't have to edit them. I hate the sound of my voice. I tell everybody that.
Yeah, but having to go in and be okay, this, sermons, if, I say a lot, you're probably going to have to edit out a ton. People have.
Oh no, it's all going to be in there.
Oh nice. Oh well, boy. Okay. Well, I'm sorry for whoever's.
Well, if somebody tallies those up for both of us,
yeah.
That has been one of the biggest learning curves for me and I'm sure you can relate, having to speak in front of people.
Yeah.
Is you are constantly analyzing your speech and trying to improve it. I mean, when I first started these, I would say all the time, and then you listen back, and you just you hate the sound of it.
Yep.
Why can I not put a full sentence together without saying
Right.
or I don't know, or
Yeah.
Like was a big one. I'm still working on
Yeah.
Every 30 seconds. You want to say
Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of and it just keeps coming.
Oh,
These weird patterns of speech that are acceptable for everyday life.
Right.
But if you're listening to somebody for an extended period of time talk like that, right,
it
gets so annoying.
It really,
Have you done that with hearing yourself speak in front of people? And you just hate the way it sounds, and you have to start tweaking that?
I've people that edit because we live stream. And
that's a good idea.
Yeah, people that edit my sermons they'll pull. I only preach every once in a while, which I'm happy about. But they probably pull. I feel like they've told me like 5 minutes of just either dead space or like they've like edited like
just
so
send you the clip of it.
Yeah. I'm just like, I'm so sorry.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, but it's like, but as my point with that was, if sometimes you have to go in and deal with the discomfort of hearing your own voice and hearing the ums and uhs and the likes and that's how you get better. And it's hard to do and it's painful.
But it's how you get better.
But before we talked about this, I wasn't noticing when I said and now I do.
And then it's really, at the front of your brain, and it almost kind of fucks you up when you realize it in the moment.
Yeah.
Because then each time you hear it, you hear that trigger.
Yeah.
And it sets you back.
Yeah. And I would say that I say it a lot less now, and it doesn't have to necessarily be at the forefront of my mind all the time, as I've worked with it, and I've gotten really comfortable with dead space. Like, you have to get comfortable with, if I lose my place in my sermon, or I have with ADHD, my mind can just go and I have to get it back. Just not saying anything is okay. It's a little harder when people are listening, but in a live audience, they will forgive you. Like, I drink a lot of water, and part of it is so that I can take that couple seconds to regroup and just find my place again and then go. And actually, silence can be used to contemplate. So if you're making a point and you say, da-da-da, if you move on too quickly, they don't really get that much time to really process it and think about it. But if you say something and you give them a little bit of time, if you really believe what you said is important, you give them a little time to process it, and then you move on, I think it actually helps. Like in group, in youth group, we'll have group discussions, and I'll ask a question, and I'll stay silent. And some of our other students or leaders will get a little uncomfortable, but what silence will do is it'll it'll cause someone to say something, or they're just thinking about your question. And if no one answers your question, at least they've thought about it. But if you move on too quickly and you don't let them think about it, then
it's gone.
It's gone. So, it's okay. Awkwardness, it's okay to be awkward sometimes and just let people think.
And let a moment hang. That thinking thing is a huge aspect. That's another issue I've had to deal with in this, because you hear that dead space and you instantly want to cover it up. There can't be any dead air. But sometimes a guest will say something and it requires a moment to consider what they've just said.
Right.
Sometimes I'll say something and then think to myself, that didn't sound right, and I'll have to take a beat to think about it. Because you're talking about things, and some things you haven't contemplated before.
Right.
Some things just require a little more air to breathe.
Yeah.
And it's okay to take that, to have 10 seconds of silence. It's not going to be the end of the world. That's a big learning lesson.
Yeah. And for sure, you said things that I've never thought about, and I've said things that I've never thought about.
That's all part of the fun.
Yeah, it is.
But you have to if you don't take the necessary time to actually think about what was just said,
right,
that moment's gone.
Exactly.
And you miss out on that.
Yeah.
Maybe it changes you maybe it changes a perspective, or maybe you have to rethink an idea that you held, or maybe something they said resonated and now it's going to spark this other tangent that you would have never gone on, but you had to take a beat to get there.
Exactly. Yeah, you can ruin. It could have been the thing that unlocks the
could have saved the world with that idea.
Could have saved the world.
Yeah.
But we messed it up.
Well, lucky for us, I don't think we did that. We can we can wrap it up. It's 5 o'clock. I'm sure
Holy
you've got
crap.
places to be.
Yeah.
This was awesome, man.
Yeah.
I had a great time, really.
Me too.
Do you want to plug Harbor, where people can find you, where they can find the church?
Yeah.
You want to plug all your stuff?
For sure. We've, Harbor Coffee and Wine. We're on Instagram and Facebook under Harbor Coffee and Wine. We do regular events. We're more than just a place to find the best coffee and the best wine and the best food. We are a place that really believes in community. Come hang out with us. Come spend some time, or swing in and grab a cup and leave. Like whatever your day throws at you, we're here for you. And so we have, we're open 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. And then Wednesday and Thursday, we're open 6 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay.
And our hours are online. I think the Google hours are up to date. So you have to request for hours to be changed, and sometimes it just
process.
You have to do it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
But yeah, our hours are current, and come try our stuff. We've got Mimosa Mondays, $3 mimosas, cinnamon roll Saturdays, because Bailey just loves bacon stuff. We've at least said, can you at least always make cinnamon rolls on Saturday?
Turn it into a day.
She graciously agreed.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I've turned it into a day, and that if you want to have a reception, we've done a memorial at our place. We've done a lot of
you guys are up
things.
for whatever.
We're really up for whatever, and you're helping us figure things out too.
Awesome.
We're really open. We've got 3 services at Faith Center, Saturday night at 6 and Sunday at 9:30 and 11 o'clock. And if you want to learn more and know more about Jesus, we're here for you. And I do youth group Tuesdays and Thursday nights. And we've got a killer. We call it 707. It's every Saturday night at 707. That's our young adults group.
At the bar?
No.
Okay,
no,
I was going to say, well, that is progressive. Okay.
That's an idea right there.
Yeah.
No.
I heard 707 and I instantly went to the bar.
I know Humboldt's, the whole 707 thing's been kind of played around with a lot of different things. But, we stole it for the church, I guess.
Okay, nice.
It's something that I thought was cool. And we start at 7:07. We really start at 7:30, but we try to aim for 7:07. But,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thanks, man.
On.
This was awesome. I had a great time.
I had a great time too. It was nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. We'll definitely have to get you back on. We'll have to have you and your wife back on next time.
Oh, dude.
Have a little round table.
Yeah, she would. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. When she talks, you actually want to listen. So.
Okay. Well, she's not gonna want to listen to either of us then, because I'm not that way.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. That was awesome. Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Really.
Thank you.